The detention cell's gravitational field pulsed at 1.4 G, standard Kytharan protocol for containing human prisoners. Lieutenant Marcus Webb felt every kilogram of his mass pressing against the titanium deck plating as he lay motionless, conserving energy. Through the translucent barrier, he could see the bioluminescent corridors of the warship Sovereign Justice, its organic architecture pulsing with neural activity that controlled every system aboard. 47 hours since capture. 72 hours since the Battle of Kepler 442b, where his reconnaissance frigate had been caught in a gravitational snare and boarded. He was the only survivor. The Kythera didn't take prisoners as a general rule. Their silicon-based neural structures processed warfare through pure mathematical optimization. Human captives represented a statistical liability with no tactical benefit. Webb understood the calculus. He would be processed for biological intelligence, his neural patterns extracted and archived, then his organic components recycled for the ship's biosynthesis reactors. Efficient, logical, inevitable. The barrier's frequency shifted. Someone was coming. General Vekthar materialized through the membrane, his crystalline exoskeleton refracting the corridor's light into prismatic patterns. The Kytharan stood 3 meters tall, his primary cognitive matrix visible as a pulsing amber core within his thoracic cavity. 2 smaller forms followed, guards with plasma disruptors calibrated to human physiology. Lieutenant Marcus Webb, Vekthar's voice synthesized through atmospheric vibration rather than vocal cords. Execution protocol initiates in 14 minutes. Your biological data has been sufficiently extracted. Webb pushed himself to sitting position, every muscle protesting against the increased gravity. Efficient timeline, General. I appreciate you not dragging it out. Sarcasm. A uniquely human coping mechanism for inevitable termination. Vekthar's optical sensors fixed on him. It serves no evolutionary purpose. Neither does hatred, but you're pretty good at that. Before Vekthar could respond, a high-pitched harmonic shriek echoed through the corridor. The general's exoskeleton flared bright orange, alarm coloration. He turned sharply, and Webb saw it. A small Kytharan juvenile, perhaps a meter tall, stumbling toward them. Its crystalline structure was clouded, opaque rather than translucent. Something was catastrophically wrong. The juvenile collapsed against the barrier. Webb could see the fracture lines spreading through its cognitive matrix like cracks in ice. The child's core was flickering erratically, its bioluminescence stuttering between colors. "Cell Kith!" Vekthar's synthesized voice carried emotional frequency modulation Webb had never heard from a Kytharan. Fear, perhaps, or its silicon-based equivalent. The guards moved to deactivate the barrier, but Vekthar stopped them with a gesture. Quarantine protocols. The cognitive cascade is contagious until stabilized. Webb was on his feet. What's wrong with him? Synaptic crystal fragmentation, a genetic defect in young Kythara, fatal in 93% of cases. The medical bay is 17 decks away. Vekthar's core pulsed rapidly, the equivalent of elevated heart rate. He will not survive transport. The juvenile's matrix was failing faster now, whole sections going dark. Webb had seen enough alien biology during his xenobiology training at the academy. Different chemistry, different physics, but shock and system failure looked similar across species. "Drop the barrier," Webb said. "You are scheduled for execution in 11 minutes, I know. Drop it, now." Vekthar's optical sensors studied him for 3 full seconds, an eternity for Kytharan processing speeds. The barrier dissolved. Webb dropped beside the juvenile, the enhanced gravity making his movements clumsy. The child's crystalline structure was hot to touch, fever equivalent. "I need something to stabilize the crystal matrix." "You have medical gel? Something with suspended silicon particles?" "We have regeneration substrate, but your organic chemistry—" "Just get it." A guard disappeared. Webb examined the fracture lines, recognizing the pattern from his xenobiology courses. The cognitive matrix was essentially a quantum computer built from living crystal. When the crystal fractured, it created feedback loops that accelerated the damage. He needed to interrupt the cascade. "Your body temperature," Webb said, looking up at Vecthar. "It runs at what, 310 Kelvin?" 312.4, precisely. "His is higher. This is thermal stress fracturing. He's overheating." Webb pulled off his uniform jacket. "I need to cool him down gradually. Human body temperature is 310 Kelvin. My thermal signature might stabilize him until your medics arrive." Webb wrapped the juvenile in his jacket, then pulled the small body against his chest. The child's crystalline structure was scalding, but he held on. Through the jacket, he could feel the frantic pulsing of the failing matrix. "Easy, kid," Webb murmured, knowing the child couldn't understand. "Just breathe. Well, whatever your equivalent is." The guard returned with a container of silver-blue gel. Webb spread it carefully over the visible fracture lines, the suspension of silicon particles acting as a temporary bonding agent. The juvenile's color began to shift from cloudy white toward pale amber. "The cooling is working," Vecthar said, his voice modulation different now. "The cascade is slowing." Webb maintained pressure, keeping the juvenile's core against his chest, where his heart beat steady and calm. In xenobiology, they'd taught him that sometimes healing was about more than chemistry. It was about convincing a failing system that survival was possible. 5 minutes later, a medical team arrived with a portable stasis chamber. They transferred the juvenile carefully, its matrix now showing stable, translucent amber throughout. The child would survive. Vecthar watched the medical team depart, then turned to Webb. The human was still sitting on the deck, exhausted, covered in regeneration gel and sweat. "You saved Selkith's life," the general said. "My son's life." Webb looked up. "You were going to execute me in—" He checked his internal chronometer. "About 4 minutes." "Yes." Vecthar's core pulsed in a pattern Webb couldn't interpret. "Our mathematics show that humans and Cathara cannot coexist. The resource competition is absolute. Extinction of one species is inevitable. Your mathematics factor in fathers and sons?" Vecthar was silent for a long moment. "No, they do not." He gestured to the guards. "Take Lieutenant Webb to guest quarters. Restore normal gravity. Provide nutrition." "General?" one guard questioned. "He has earned life debt under the Third Concordance. Until that debt is resolved, he is under my protection." Vecthar looked at Webb. "Your mathematics are different from ours, Lieutenant. Perhaps we need to recalculate." As they led him away, Webb glanced back at the general, who stood alone in the corridor, his amber core pulsing with something that might have been hope or doubt or the beginning of a new equation altogether. In war, the mathematics of death were simple, but the calculus of mercy, Webb thought, might just be complex enough to change everything.